Hey guys, it's Overlord here, back again with a new segment. I'm going to try something out here. It's going to be Saturday morning cartoons. Now granted, some of these are not just going to be straight up 20, 11-minute cartoons. It's going to be all kinds of stuff. Movies, TV, direct-to-DVD, so on and so forth. So what better way to start a new segment than talk about my favorite show of all time, which is Gargoyles. Now, to avoid any copyright mumbo-jumbo, I'm just going to sit here and discuss the series and give you my thoughts on it, just to avoid any, again, copyright mumbo-jumbo. I don't want none of that. On my videos, I have a pretty clean slate, so I like to keep it that way. But Gargoyles, the first season was 13 episodes, as usual, and so was the last season, season 3. But season 2, for whatever reason, was like 51, 52 episodes. The total number of episodes was 78. So I think it was in fact 52. So, yeah. Pretty crazy, you know, and they even split it up into 2 parts, 226 episode parts. So they could have easily had 4 seasons, but they just went with 3 for some reason. But that's not what I'm here to talk about, because that's stupid. I'm here to talk about how good the show was. The intro, I'm going to talk about this in addition of Shiz Overlord Says. But the intro was really, really killer. Excellent score. You know, you had Keith David, who was Goliath in the series, the main character. He did a little voiceover telling you about the series, and you pretty much got the gist of it. Gargoyles defended humans. A couple of them betrayed them. They got PO'd, and then got turned to stone forever. And then they were reawakened. So, granted, if you watch the pilot, which is 5 episodes, it is called Awakening, I believe, and it's split into 5 parts. You'll get all the extra information you missed out on, but that way, you know, if you're just jumping into it, see how good the show is, that's a pretty good way to tell you the backstory without having to go back, rewatch all the old episodes, and all that stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, intro, definitely one of the things you want to have to grip an audience. It's a really good intro, which Gargoyles definitely had. And then speaking of the voice acting, you gotta have a cast that can play off each other, like Keith David, Marina Sirtis, Jeff Bennett, Frank Welker, Brent Spiner, and Jonathan Frakes, and everyone else from Star Trek Next Gen, except for Patrick Stewart. I will say it is kind of funny that like half of the Star Trek Next Gen cast is in Gargoyles. Even the original Lieutenant Uhura is in it. She is Elisa Moss's mom. Elisa Massa is the cop that befriends the Gargoyles and kind of becomes their April O'Neil, as it were. But yeah, I will say the voice acting was really good. I really liked a lot of the choices for the characters. Really nice talent in there, and then they even had other famous voice actors like Jim Cummings come
and
in
Tim Curry.
Extra background characters and whatnot, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And Ed Asner as Hudson, probably one of my favorite performances from him, aside from the grumpy old man from the Up movie. Let's see. So we did 2 of my 5 things. Again, the score is fantastic. You get a little taste of that in the intro, but it fits, it flows, has a nice flow to it. Never really a dull moment when the score is playing, so that's really good. The story. I'm going to say it right now, and you can disagree if you want. But before I get into that, let me just remember one last thing. Yeah, we'll just talk about the story. The story. I'm going to say it. Again, you can disagree if you want. I'm going to say that this is one of the most well-written things Disney has ever produced. It's got a very nice continuous story. It has lots of references to the past episodes and the future episodes, which is something I can't really say for a lot of new shows other than maybe Rick and Morty and a few other exceptions that have that really nice continuous story. A lot of times the shows nowadays are only 11 minutes long. Hard to get a continuous story out of that, I think. If some show can pull it off, that's great, but I think Gargoyles just nailed it, and other shows took note of that. Like one of my personal favorites from my childhood, Ben 10. Definitely, I'm just checking the time here, making sure we're not going over. Alrighty. Like Ben 10, that had a continuous story. Granted, it had other episodes which had like one-off villains here and there, which is the same with Gargoyles. Like most of season 2, aside the fact that it was a continuous journey around the world, they mostly had one-off characters that you didn't see a lot of after that. But what they did do with it, they took lots of characters from folklore and literature and mythic legends and mythology and such, and they did a really good job bringing those characters to life in that show. I really do think that Gargoyles, along with a few other shows from that era, really did a good job with that. But the storytelling, I'm going to say it, is probably up there with some of Disney's most well-written, movies, even. Like, I know a lot of people like Lion King and Beauty and the Beast, and I'm freaking gonna fight for Gargoyles being up there in terms of writing. The writing was really good. I mean, it was sophisticated enough and simple enough that multiple audiences could understand what they were saying or talking about. And yeah, so the writing was top notch, definitely. Craig Wiseman definitely proved his writing skills there. And then the animation, it was actually kind of interesting because I learned about this on a direct-to-DVD Lady Death movie, which if you're a 90s person, you know exactly who that is. She got big boobs and a scythe. But that's besides the point. The point is, this animation company that worked on that film worked on Gargoyles and Batman the Animated Series. Kinda makes sense. They look like they could combine together to make a big, super awesome crossover that everyone would want to see. Never did, but oh well. But I will say Batman the Animated Series, I always thought, Gargoyles is kind of Disney's version of that, and being done by the same animation company is kind of interesting. Because if you look at Batman the Animated Series compared to the later Bruce Timm stuff, animated series has a lot more details in it. The later stuff, they kind of simplified it, made it more streamlined, which makes sense. But the animated series, they had more definition. They had more details drawn out, kind of like Gargoyles. So at the end of the day, it's not very hard to, at least assume that maybe some people, from animated series work on Gargoyles, because of course animated series came out before Gargoyles. I believe it came out in 92. Gargoyles came out in the fall of 94 and went on to about 96, I believe. Which is, kind of short considering there were so many episodes. But I will say the downfall of Gargoyles, a lot of people are saying it was from poor toy sales. I can see that. They didn't make half the characters from the show in the slightest. I really do think maybe that has a factor in it, but it also seems kind of stupid. Just because, come on, really? I mean, Skeleton Warriors is a different story. The toys came out before the show, but Gargoyles, it was a really good show. What happened that got it booted off the air? Well, Greg Weisman I think, had a falling out with either Disney or ABC. I do not know which. Because I'm pretty sure the show went to ABC for the third season, the Goliath Chronicles, which is not at all what Greg Weisman wanted to do with the series, which is why he pumped out a series of comic books in 2006. It's got some things from season 3 in it, but it's a more well-written, more adult version of it. Season 3 had some ridiculousness in it, like Goliath going to court and Broadway becoming a movie star. Really? And then Demona, Marina Sirtis' character, was barely seen. And then Broadway got to do Goliath's daughter, Angela, in the one of the first episodes. So, at least I'm guessing that. They don't show you everything that goes on there. Come on. But regardless, I still like the third season. The episodes Generations and Genesis Undone, I really do enjoy those. Those seem like they could have been written by Greg. Yeah, so with that being said, that's pretty much my take on Gargoyles, animated series, because it is still my favorite show to this day. I've watched several 90s cartoons since then, and you can't top it. It's up there. Animated series, I've yet to watch all of Batman, so yeah. I watched enough of Spider-Man to say that ain't my favorite. Gargoyles is still, even though I grew up watching the Spider-Man cartoon more than Gargoyles anyways, but that's neither here nor there. So, out of 10, Gargoyles gets a perfect score of 10 out of 10. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this new segment. Stay tuned for more episodes every Saturday morning. I'm filming this kind of at night, so yeah. Should be a little brighter next time at least, although it's not too bad. Yeah, until next time, I'll catch you guys later. The stinking button. There it is.